It's important to know like what demons can do and how they do it too, because demons possession isn't the only thing they do. There's vexation, obsession, oppression, and possession. Vexation is when demons are attached to objects and move objects around and affect our material world. Obsession is when they affect your mental health basically and put thoughts and things in your mind. Because demons' main thing, they're spiritual beings. They don't have a physical body, but they can manifest in physical places. And so their main thing is trying to tempt you and like push you into certain places. But they're not like Christ. So Christ can hear your interior life. So you can pray silently, and Christ and the saints in heaven can hear you through the power of Christ. But demons can't hear your interior life, but they can be inside of you and poke around and look at what you're up to, see how you're feeling. And of course, they're super intelligent beings that have a complete and total knowledge of everything because they're immaterial spirits that exist outside of time and space. And so just by watching how you're acting, they can kind of guess on what you're feeling and how to push you and tempt you. And so the idea is that they watch what you're doing and they try to like push you towards certain things. The more you sin, of course, in the Catholic Church, we believe the more you sin, the more sin darkens your intellect. So the more you sin, the dumber you get. The most evil thing you've ever done, that time you cheated on that girl you loved and you're like, who was that? I don't even know who I was. Why did I do that? Like, you literally don't know why you betrayed your friend or did some of the worst things you can imagine. That's sin darkening your intellect. That's you becoming basically drunk on stupidity from sin. And demons push you into that space. And the dumber you get, the easily they can manipulate you. And then they push you towards behaviors where you betray your friends weirdly or do crazy things.
Why?
Why did they do that?
Yeah.
The ruin of souls.
Yeah.
But what, like, is it to get you damned, to destroy God's creation?
The enemy is a punk, right? And I use that line a lot, right? So, one, right, he's not a demigod. And I think you made a very good point here, right?
Yeah.
So Satan is not reading your thoughts, right? He's not like God.
Your
right?
interior life is unavailable to demons and Satan.
He's just extraordinarily observant, right? But he already knows that he's lost. And so what he does essentially, right, is he's trying, I guess, to lessen the weight of his defeat by trying to bring all these people down with him, you know, and that's why I say he's like a punk, right? It's the kid who lost the game, so he wants to ruin it for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
That's
misery loves company.
Yeah, that's the enemy.
Yeah. And then demons can affect your sensorium, so they can like affect the way you see things or whatever. And so that's why like, oh, what's that thing in the corner of my eye, or what's that creepy feeling? And then they push you towards that, and then they make you confused because sometimes you did just see a speck in the corner of your eye. Sometimes though, you're like, I know for a fact I just saw a guy in the corner of my eye and I feel like I'm not alone, like I'm creeped out. But they keep you unaware, scared, and confused. That's like the game. That's the shell game they play.
And the end result of all of this for the people who go down that path or influence, it's what, damnation or?
Yeah, I mean, if they're influenced enough that they're losing the life of grace, right, and that they're led into a sinful life, then yeah, I mean, that's his goal. But the enemy, right, he's crafty and he's a master of deceit. You know, a lot of times when we see situations of oppression and possession, the person who's actually experiencing this is not always the target, right? Sometimes the target is the priest who's involved, right? So I mentioned in the car on the way over here that we were listening to a recording of an exorcism recently. Some priests were, and in this particular instance, the priest was trying to ascertain the demon's purpose. And so he kept asking, you know, why are you here? That kind of thing. And the demons sort of began to repeat over and over again. Well, if you get the priest, you get the mass, and if you get the mass, you get the souls, right? And there's so many souls, and so the goal here was to get at the priest, right? Because if you can get one person, then you get all of them, right? And the enemy's trying to maximize the amount of people he can get to sort of decrease his defeat. And so, yeah, so the end game ultimately, right, is the enemy wants all of us, right? And so he's going to go for the most influential person, right? He's going to go for the persons to get the most people with him. He's not, going to look for the small victory, right? He's trying to look for the big one.
Is there like an opposite force? You know, people say angels and demons, but is there an opposite pressure towards goodness or?
Yeah, I mean, that's angelic intercession. is the reverse of what demonic oppression or possession would be. So to pray to the saints in heaven or to have angels intercede on your behalf, God sends angels down to earth, assigns us guardian angels. So there are benevolent forces at work, but of course, we're humans that come to our salvation by many movements. So angels come to their salvation or damnation by one movement. God creates them. They have all the complete and total knowledge they'll ever need, but how they interpret that is up to their personality and them as an individual. So they make that choice immediately to love God by his power, by their own power. So angels can't sin the way we can because they don't have physical bodies. So the only sins they commit would be pride or envy. And so probably a combination of both. They make their decision. They fall away from God. They are living in sin, separated from God. Sin darkens the intellect. They become insane, which then makes them look crazy and behave crazy to us, Wow. And then, so the reverse of that is when, angels come and visit us, or you're feeling terrible and you have the distinct feeling a family member who loved you and could be in heaven is comforting you or sending you a message in Christ allows them to do that. So that's the reverse of experiencing the demonic.
In order to exorcise someone, do they have to want to be exorcised?
I would say that's a good question. So exorcisms are what the church calls a sacramental. So I got to make this distinction in order to make this explanation. So there are 7 sacraments within the church, and the church teaches that the sacraments always are effective if they're done properly. Sacramentals are effective if someone is properly disposed to receive them. Right. So I would argue that the person being exorcised, that they interiorly are desiring holiness and sanctity, and they're desiring deliverance, even if the forces that are also within them are not. Right. Obviously, the enemy doesn't want that to happen. But it's not a case of I'm going to strap someone down and exercise them, that kind of thing. It's not going to work. You could do that with baptism. You shouldn't. Right? Baptism would be effective because God is the one who's acting here. But in sacramentals, the Lord is acting through us, but upon the grace of our dispensation, our disposition. So yeah, that's a good. I never thought about that, but I guess that would be the answer.
The reason I ask is we were talking about this last night. I mentioned it briefly before the show. What would it look like if you tried to exorcise by force? And I don't mean physically restraining someone. I mean like trying to bless or drive out demons from, say, some raging liberal at a protest. Mm-hmm. It would look like the movie The Exorcism.
One of the ways correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've heard from priest friends 2 very interesting things. One, that one of the ways you can find out if someone is possessed is by hiding the Holy Eucharist on you or bringing a very holy object or relic near them without telling them, and they have a physical or odd reaction to it. So if you put like the Eucharist in your pocket and went and walked around a protest and you were trying to be normal, but people were like hissing at you or trying to attack you, that might be an indicator. Yeah.
Is that not in any way like sacrilegious or blasphemous to do?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't carry the blood.
Yeah, you can't just. I don't know how you would get it.
I wouldn't do that. I did see a video actually on Instagram just last week. It was a woman in Russia was in a church, and she was brought in contact with a relic, and just immediately she was having a vehement physical reaction to this. So that sort of thing, we do see it. Funny enough, I can tell a story on the flip side. An exorcist told me one way he can tell if someone's faking it, because that also happens sometimes, is he has a copy of Green Eggs and Ham written in Latin, and he'll begin reading it and see how they react, and if they're reacting viscerally, he's like,
Nice. How do you write Green Eggs and Ham?
That's incredible.
Well, because you see these videos on Instagram a lot, specifically out of like Africa, and it'll be a guy just going, "Boah, boah," and then people are flying backwards and that sort of thing, and you see that, and you're like, something's missing here. There's a little bit of performativeness to this.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, that's like overly performative or whatever. The other interesting thing a priest friend had told me, and I've heard from other priests, and again, forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn, but is that it's actually a spiritual gift to come in contact with a demon or the devil in the long term, because you are having a situation where you're confronting evil directly and experiencing it in such a way that it galvanizes your faith forever. Whereas, like, that's why people who reject God or whatever, like, I've never seen a ghost. I want to see it. I want to have an experience, but I just can't have one. Why would the devil do anything to you? He already won. you're gone. He doesn't need you. He's not going to galvanize your faith. He's not going to make you feel like things are real. He's going to leave you in your lane to keep sinning.
And the enemy also, he doesn't want his presence to be known.
Exactly.
Because that foils his plan, right? So, he's not going to go around and have people start doing things that are going to, allow him to, be manifest to someone, right? I mean, he wants to hide that.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of what we would describe as like default liberals, normies, I'll call them normies because they don't necessarily have to be just liberal, but if they actually, so let's say someone is living in sin, they're doing things that are driving them towards a darkness. I think there's a good amount of people that if they actually saw the demon manifest before their eyes, they'd turn around immediately. I think deception is required to push people towards darkness because I think people actually understand that if a demon is trying to entice you to do bad things, it's going to be bad for you. And so there's a deception and no, what you're doing is good. You're the good guy. Trust me, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, you also like I used to practice a type of magic, and I was like a member of the Temple of Satan or whatever, and you tell yourself, well, it's aesthetic. Nah, this is like a cringe, funny, heavy metal looking organization that does political activism. I'm not engaging in real Satanism. And then you're doing like weird magic stuff because girls think it's cool or whatever. And you're like, well, it's like goofy. Well, maybe if it works, who knows? And then you're like, well, if the secret works, this will work. It's like harmless. And then you're experiencing like dark, you're, trying to go pee at night and you're like, overcome with a complete and total sense of dread, like there's something waiting for you on the other side of the door. Have you ever, when you're a kid and you're so scared that you're like, this is happening to me, this is real, I'm the most terrified I've ever been, blanket over your head. Like, of course, to have that feeling as an adult is like indicative of like something real is happening to me, but you just explain it away. The same way, like, because it's just what we're designed to do. You're just like, I'm just being weird. This isn't really happening.
One of the things that's crazy to me is that there are endless stories from humans about supernatural phenomenon in a variety of fashions. It's not always just about like exorcism or whatever, but there are people who explain, I've witnessed this thing, and yet it is still in the mainstream. We don't believe any of it. That's not true.
Yeah,
because you never experienced it. It's funny because when you think about how scientists will explain oxidization process through hemoglobin or whatever in your body, you're like, that's correct. Because everyone tells you it's correct. But then when you have people all tell you stories of, I have witnessed something, we are basically meant to believe that can't be true. We ignore it. And that seems weird. It's illogical.
Yeah. Well, so at first I would say that there's so much about the world we don't know. Like, for instance, we we don't even understand like why we yawn fully, right? We don't. So, yeah, right. So, but the response I would give to that is, okay, first, so people could ask the question, for instance, why doesn't God just manifest himself over the whole world and everyone, like announce through a trumpet that he's God and everyone will believe in him? Well, one, God desires that we have free will because he desires us to love him, right? Not just to accept and believe in him and fear him, right? He wants us to love him. And if you're going to love someone, you have to love them freely, right? You can't, go up to the girl you like and put a gun to her and say, love me, right? And she's not going to actually love you even if she says it, right? So in order for us to authentically choose God, we have to have the ability to choose other than God as well, right? We have to have that complete freedom, right? So God permits evil to exist ultimately so that we have the ability to choose him freely. Right. So these manifestations, right, sometimes there's a reason for it. That this person, they need the effect of this grace or they need the experience of this to prevent them from making some decision down the road or whatever it is in God's providence. But for the overwhelming majority of us, we just need to have normal lives and have the experience of learning to pray and learning, the teachings of the church or whatever it is. And that will be enough for us to have the ability to make that decision.
It feels like recently, good is winning. However, I'm curious as to why, I went to, where was I? Shepherdstown or whatever. They have a church up there with the Progress Pride flag. And so this is not just the gay rights flag. It's got the weird colors on it. It's got the fist and all of that. This is not a church that's going to teach you good morals or biblical values. It's going to espouse degeneracy. How does this happen? How does the church actually succumb to this itself? So widespread.
So, I mean, I can't speak to what, other groups are doing.
It's not a Catholic church, by the way.
Yeah, I mean one of the reasons. I mean, obviously, right? I mean, there are Catholics who are going to individually believe these sort of things, but one of the reasons I am Catholic is because the teaching of the church, right, is one, we can't change the church's teachings, right? We don't have the authority to change the church's teachings because they belong to God. And so even if this individual person is espousing this belief, right, and there are people within the Catholic Church that do, that's not the teachings of the church, right? You can't change that. And that's, like I said, I appreciate the firm foundation of that. Now, to kind of speak more to your question, I think especially in the United States, we are seeing, I think, within the culture overall, a sort of return to traditional values and that kind of thing, especially among young people.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.